welcome everybody. We'll go ahead and open the meeting at 6:30. And since we have more people here tonight, I just want to go over our rules for public participation. There was a little article we put in the Beacon. We welcome, of course, everybody and anybody is welcome to come to any of the board meetings. It's all public. Not every town allows for public participation in their meetings though, but Andover traditionally has. So here we are doing our traditional thing. But to make it easier, we've listed some help from some workshops that we've taken. We've come up with a sort of a list of ground rules.
I'm sitting right in front of
Yeah, so if you have a question or comment, you're given 3 minutes to address the board. That doesn't mean the whole thing is discussed in 3 minutes. It just means your question or comment shouldn't take any more than 3 minutes. And then we start the discussion. If you could please address the board either from your seat or you can stand at the podium there. That would be great. And the board chair, who right now is me, will recognize you when it's your turn to speak. And we ask for respect to everybody, not just the board members, but all the other members of the public around you. And disruption of the meeting just means if you refuse to stop talking or refuse to wait for your turn, or if you are aggressive, we'll ask you to leave. And if you don't, then we have Chief Mahoney here to help out in that situation, but it's very rare. So, and I'm sure everybody's gonna be respectful tonight. So we can go and get started. First item on the agenda is always the road agent, because he's busy and we like to get him here and out the door. No plowing tonight though.
No plowing for a while.
Right.
We're in serious trouble with this plowing tonight.
You just don't know what's coming down the road.
Right. Some of the things I have, we already have here on the list.
Okay.
So,
All right, let's take your
the
list then.
first thing I had was the Bridge Street, last street bridge.
Right.
The residents up there have called and they're concerned because they can't get oil deliveries, or if they want to do improvements to their property, they only have a 6-ton bridge. So they're claiming the oil company won't deliver to them anymore.
So they've been doing it for years and years and years. It's been posted 6 ton for how long? Forever.
Forever.
Is it just the patch that kind of makes them nervous? But I mean,
Get the bridge inspection report in there.
so right. That's on the front page. So it doesn't look like it's one of our better bridges.
They're poor, substructure's poor.
Superstructure's
Superstructure's
poor.
poor.
It doesn't sound that great.
Correct. Significant rating of 32.3%.
Does it have metal trusses?
No.
So
Wood
it's
truss.
all wood and then deck wood too?
Yes. Yep.
Main span material and design type timber, multiple beam. Everything's timber. Not applicable. Now, I know what deck is. Substructure, I know, yeah. Substructure. Superstructure is that's part of the span. Because they have deck and then they have superstructure.
The substructure is the underneath.
But it's the span, it's not the abutments.
Or
Or is substructure
could be part of the
considered the?
substructure being the abutments and the underneath piers that come up and down, plus the underneath girders.
That's all part of the substructure.
Structure.
Okay. Wow, okay.
So it's got timber piers too, not concrete headers?
It's got stone headers on either side, and it has everything's wood. It does set on concrete or rock, but it's wood structure completely.
AADT. Year of AADT, 1984, year of future AADT, 2034. Do we know what AADT is? It's gotta say up here somewhere.
You've got your average daily traffic.
Oh, there you go, you got Zach, he works for that.
That's not Zach, that's Chris.
Oh, Chris, I thought it was Zach, I didn't look.
All right,
Average daily traffic, there you go.
okay.
Right percentage of trucks, 0%, yeah.
Got it. Okay, well, so, plan,
Haven't got that far yet.
I mean, our initial plan was to replace the decking,
Correct.
but that's not going to change,
The rating of the brick.
the rating of the bridge. So I guess what we need to do is have the DOT come up and tell us what we need to do to get oil deliveries and other types of service and construction vehicles over that bridge, and emergency vehicles. But
What's the timeline for DOT to show up and do that though?
they're pretty quick.
You're pretty good about
Yeah.
it, usually.
It has to do with the bridge, they're pretty quick.
When was the last time we looked at it?
Well, they do inspections on these bridges. That's why I'm really surprised. I mean, date of last inspection was 2016. So that's, I have to say, I'm really confused that they've inspected it and they haven't told us this bridge has to be replaced, nothing can go over it
How
except
long has the
cars.
steel thatch been on?
Since last fall.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we need to get that going as quick as we can, so that's when we can get heat or whatever else she needs.
Well, before you go to the trouble of redecking, we should have them come up,
See what's
right?
going on.
Because we have the material,
We have the material.
we just have to,
See what we,
All
I
right.
mean, if the deck's gonna be off, and there's things we can do underneath the bridge to fix it,
yeah,
or to bring it up or improve it, that's the time to do it, so.
exactly.
That would be the first thing, is to get an inspection and suggestion.
Okay. So is that you, Marge?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Materials are over at White Oak, correct?
Yes.
On the chart?
Yeah. For the deck.
Correct. Correct.
All right.
Other than now, we've been mowing, doing dump runs, we fixed the wash of it, the Hall Bridge, Hall Street Bridge. Placed some gravel and some riprap.
There was a
We
washout.
did that, yeah,
Okay.
we did that with one ton of Bobcat, we had the materials and fit. Clean the covered bridge off, get that washed
Mhm.
down. Been grading, been doing the FEMA thing.
Oh, yeah, all the
That's been
measuring and,
eating up
yeah.
A bunch of time.
You're not kidding.
Yep, been over doing the layout on Old College Road, so people can come in and see what to look at.
Right, right.
Then, that's about what we've been up to. One of the problems, you know, on the list that I was gonna bring forward is, the beach house, the roof leaks just about everywhere. It's got little pinholes and just, you stand inside, it's like standing outside on a rainy day.
I'm guessing we saved a load of money on the floor replacement.
Yep.
We had $10,000 for that, and
Right.
we couldn't have spent
I would need,
even,
We had to take some of that for the
I would have took half of
20,
it.
25,000, so it's not all, yeah.
But yes, it was short money compared to that.
right, so
We
we
spread
tossed
that
it.
removal over.
How much
If not,
did we take
I just
out
can't
of that?
remember.
Yes, it's got that
Fine.
transparent
Yeah.
fiberglass.
I wanna say
roof.
25.
I think we brought it down to 75.
I
Down to
haven't seen the
75.
invoices yet for the
Okay, I'm
floor,
sorry.
so-
Okay.
We didn't come in, it was near 75.
Okay,
No,
so we
not
have
even
money
close.
then to go
There's
ahead and
some, yeah.
replace the roof.
Should be, yeah.
Just
Right.
completely, no patching, just replace, right?
I don't
I
know.
don't think you can patch, it's
No.
fiberglass.
Yeah, it's that
We've
fiberglass,
already-
yeah.
We've already done that, we've already
Yeah.
cut some panels, slid some panels in underneath it,
Yeah.
a few places.
Okay.
Um.
But that
and then-
material is what we need because it offers natural light, right?
Yes,
Right, so
Yeah.
that's perfect.
other than that, that's about what we've been up to. Snow basis, I
Yep.
guess, every day.
Yep,
And then the grant block money, I got a few ideas to throw out to you guys. I'm sure you
Okay.
probably have some ideas, but, one idea that, comes forward right off is to chip seal, Switch Road. And the reason being is because it's like 4 years into it, and I had them come out from Allstate, and they looked at it and said, now's the time, and it's a prime candidate, that we could chip seal it, probably gain another 10 years out of it, you know? And then, go back and look at it again.
Does it even cost for that?
We did have it put out to bid, it was, around 39,000 or something.
39, 330, 67.
okay.
Then, other ideas that I had, which are just ideas this time with no numbers, because I don't know, I spent time telling them different directions. But, Shaw Hill, that's a major reason right there. 5 holes, some ditching, and some culverts, and some rocks that could be removed. Sillyville from Route 11 into Kearsarge Mountain Road, have that ditch, some pipes replaced and possibly resurfaced. Channel Road from Maple Street to Route 11, coming out past by the boat launch. Mostly for the
The
fire
edges,
station.
yeah.
What do you wanna do there?
Resurface that. There's one culvert that we replaced, there's another culvert that needs to be
So the
replaced.
call man helps too,
That culvert's actually a new culvert, the ground just soils, it's a live culvert, and it's just, it's a mess. Then, the drainage over on Shirley Street, over behind. There's 2 basins that are broke and 1 pipe that's plugged up there. That was just a drainage upgrade. North Road, right out here, from Route 11 in, headed in from Proctor into Proctor, resurface that, clean that, resurface it. You go around, out around by where Dick Phelps and Stevie Smith and Doug Phelps was, the road still broke up through there. Down the drain starting from Old College Road headed down Maple Street in a direction that way, a couple rocks taken out and that intersection resurfaced. Going down by the driveway. You know, if you go down by the old, can't think of it, Bethany's, on her side, past her driveway, going down towards that first culvert, where the road washes up.
A lot of stuff, right. Yep.
And then you can always shim and do some more shimming on Plains Road. And there's a spot up there that there's some rocks that could be taken out and fixed. You can always make more gravel, and you could take down dead trees and cut brush forever. So those are just some ideas.
Well, right off the bat, in keeping with the idea of keeping good roads good,
Right.
the chip seal on Switch Road seems like a good idea. Shaw Hill is at the point where it needs to be probably redone, right?
Right.
And I hate to say it, but those are the roads that you can leave for one more year. On the other hand, I got the impression that this grant was for a project and not a whole, I don't know if we can split it up.
You can,
Oh, you can?
yep, you can. As long as they're new projects, that weren't in the picture, or in the scope.
How much,
So,
how much of a project is Shaw Hill? Is that a mile worth of road, or is it a section of road? I mean, is
maybe
that,
half a mile.
is that something that could be combined with Switch?
I don't think they do them both.
I don't think you're gonna get it done for
No,
that.
that would be, we don't have the time to do that kind of stuff.
Well,
Just
you-
financial.
time isn't the issue, it's the financial.
It would be the financing, yeah.
Yeah. So I think what I would do is ask you guys to prioritize what you think was where you'd wanna go. I would, if you're asking my opinion, I would look at Shaw Hill and then another project you might, Switch Road was priority and then another project you might be able to fill in with that. Or if you're looking for one solid project, I would concentrate on Shaw Hill. That would be my opinion.
What do you wanna do on, just, chip seal switch road?
Correct. And
Well-
that, all that would be is a maintenance upgrade.
So, we have the number for that one, so why don't you give us a full number on, if you can,
I'm sure.
on Shaw Hill?
Mhm.
And then, like the few breakdowns of other smaller ones, you know, if we do the 40 for Switch Road, to make that last longer. And then, you know, like the catch basins that need to be done, where shimming would be, and per se brush cutting, because that's actually one of the things I was gonna talk to you about. I've had a few people complain, and then
It's terrible.
some roads, I mean, my road, if you go on and do like this when it's wet, I literally
Just droop right
go
down.
like this,
Same.
so stuff's not
Terrible.
dragging on my truck,
Mhm.
so.
Well, the reason why I like
Thank you.
Shaw Hill is just because it fits in nicely with Old College Road in terms of heavy equipment being brought into town.
So if we use like the grinder, think of it.
Right.
Right, that's what I'm
top.
thinking,
Absolutely.
grinder, paving, you have all that same equipment for both projects, that's one,
Hopefully save us some money on moves and stuff.
It should, because you wouldn't be paying for mobilization again.
right.
So,
So yeah,
so what?
it's not an
what I'll
easy
do
choice.
is I'll give you a price on Shaw Hill,
Okay,
and we already have a price on chip sealing. And then give you a price like on, maybe the drainage or another small project that we do.
Channel Road's basically just, are you replacing a culvert there? Or
Just one.
And then you're just grind it and repave it?
Right. So, you know, that might be in that range. Is
that's
that-
also something, yeah, if Shaw Hill sounds like it's gonna be too expensive, we could do Channel Road instead, and then maybe some drainage or something.
Okay, well, I'll
A
throw
lot
some
of
stuff out
choices, a
there.
lot of choices.
Come back with some numbers for you.
Okay. All right. How much time have we got, Marge?
You know, that this year,
Yeah, we need to use it. We got it end of July, so we need to,
jump on.
we need to start moving,
I think it's October or something, isn't
I think so.
Okay. Yikes.
So I'm not sure it's even, in there because it's September.
Okay, all right.
When do you have to have it in by, or July, September, October?
Yeah, I know.
We got the money in at the end of July last year.
Oh,
it?
okay.
18
So,
months, right?
And I think it was 18 months, I'll have to look, but I think it was 18 months that we had to use it.
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
Down by Bill Basley, that big culvert's gonna be replaced. Have you, anybody got a price on that yet?
We're still waiting for, FEMA is asking for a lot of information because it's not just that culvert. We're waiting to see if we can get FEMA money for that. But it's tied up in all the other, damage that was done in town. There were like 5 or 6 different areas that had to be fixed, so they're requiring so much information. I think we're almost done gathering it up for them.
We're getting there. They want 5 years worth of road
History,
maintenance
you know,
records on
history.
those roads, so.
So they've been here, the whole team, they've been down there to look, it will be fixed, it's not gonna be left.
Well, I just wanted to get that grant money, because if you're gonna have to raise more money to fix that, you got grant money, you're trying to figure out where you're gonna put the money.
FEMA's gonna give us the money, hopefully.
Yeah.
Some money, but if they say,
Wasn't it already determined that that didn't classify the project as for that grant money, correct?
Yeah, it would be, I mean, we'd have to really bet
Right.
to be able to use it.
Didn't really fit the
And-
classifications of the.
It doesn't,
Of a
Right.
grant,
And it-
so of a new project.
right.
Right, so we're working on it,
General.
Herbie, and I'm hoping that it won't be any new money.
hopefully
So,
not.
right.
Every time you get a new project, you gotta raise money for taxes, keep going up, so if you got grant money, I'd rather see it spent on that than.
Nevertheless, Herbie, the situation is everything that we're talking about needs to be done. So it's not like the money's going to bed.
I know that, but not even that, you got worse roads, you're gonna fix roads, probably needs to be fixed, but you got other roads that are in even worse shape than the ones you're fixing, so.
Well, what ones are those?
Flag hole,
It's on the-
I completely agree, but 86 grand isn't even gonna touch, pick up the big rock in the middle of.
with my old grind, you put it in a dirt road then, cause that damn road is so bad, it's pitiful.
I say it's $500,000 to fix that road.
Well, you gotta start someday.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, if you wanna see what the dirt
I
road
just think this is-
would
this
look
is
like,
more
just
thought
cross
process
the
on it.
border into Franklin.
If you
and
put
drive on
86
that.
grand in that road, you go and clean the ditches and you do a quarter mile of the road. By the time you get even the money invested into fixing the rest of the road, you've wasted everything that went into it. That's my mindset. I'm not a road scholar by no stretch of imagination.
You can't
But
be.
I don't think
Don't be.
86,000 goes into
Just
that.
doesn't money in this.
So I guess it's probably not in the 10-year plan, then fix it
I
then.
don't know what the 10-year plan is.
Well, it's gotta be
Time,
fixed.
yeah, time
I
to
completely agree.
do that, yeah.
And like I said, you're fixing roads in heck of a lot better shape than that road is.
Okay, all right, we answered your question about the
Yeah.
culvert, so can keep going. Thanks. All right, so you'll get us a price on Shaw Hill Road. And I think we have a work session with you tomorrow,
8:15.
8:15. Get up,
Thanks for saying
breakfast
something.
yourself, and
thought it
we'll
was
see you
Thursday.
early in the morning.
It's Thursday.
It is
Oh, it was
Thursday, I
Thursday.
thought it was tomorrow.
It's the 7th.
It's
Oh, it is
Thursday?
the 7th, it is Thursday.
Oh.
That's right. That's
Must be
right.
better
We
for
started
everyone.
with Tuesday,
For
and
today,
we said, no,
anyways.
Thursday would
Okay.
work better,
Now
you're
we got
right.
that straightened out, okay.
And then after that,
You're right.
we've got the
Thursday,
teleconference
sorry.
with
With
FEMA,
FEMA,
with
yes.
FEMA on the very issues that Herbie just
Right.
brought up.
All
Which
right.
we have completed all the reports.
The 7th, the 12th, and the 18th become very.
Oh, okay, so that is
Those
complete.
are
Yeah.
done. I
Yay.
believe all we're doing, now we're gonna do is the maintenance file. right?
And
So-
we're waiting for the, information from Hoyle Tanner. FEMA requested.
Which I talked to Joseph yesterday,
Oh, you did? What did he say?
and he said that he should have it by Friday. Should have the whole package by Friday. It's
For a
kind of-
contract?
For all the
Okay. Great.
Wow,
rough, maybe he meant rough package, but
Well, I
at least,
don't,
at least
yeah,
it's a
that's what we
package.
need.
okay.
It doesn't have to be all,
Right, and the Moral Hill
Fine.
Bridge is coming along real well.
I know, I went down and looked, they had the paving
Yeah, it's all
down,
cased in.
and guardrails still,
No,
waiting
yeah,
for that?
Still waiting for those.
for some reason, that's backed up with the company,
Yeah,
the fence company.
Did you guys check that bridge over good, cause one side tips out a little bit?
I'd say
Just look at it, we took a good look at it, it's, I don't know if it's gonna ever move, but it tips out on my side, on the right side, tips out a little bit. It wasn't really flushed up good.
Is it impossible?
I wanna take a look at it. I'm just bringing it up, it might not be
I
nothing,
haven't
but
looked at
Yes,
it
it is.
personally, but
it's
Yeah.
just, it's
So what they did down the Dyer's Crossing,
Yep, same thing. Comes over, sits
it's all
on
one
a
piece.
foot. So they
Take
pour
a
a
look
foot,
at it, because
I have a
pour a
fork
foot
of
in the
yours, or
thing,
have you
it's
come and
4 feet
gotten it
wide,
already?
It's 8 feet down
You
to the
did?
ground.
Okay, thanks.
And then these sections come in like big U's, big horseshoes. Come sewn right in. I think there were 4 sections, 5 sections. Probably 6, 7 feet wide, 8 feet wide, and they just keep coming together and they pull them together. Didn't take them very long, that's for sure.
Right.
Pretty neat to see.
Right.
But
All right, anything else on roads? Any other questions for the road agent, anybody? Dan?
I heard North Street mentioned, so my ears peaked up. Is that just in a tentative list somewhere that maybe will get fixed?
That was drainage issue?
No, that was just resurfacing.
Resurface.
Because there is a drainage issue too.
There
Okay.
is.
All the water from the west side and the north side comes across the street into my property and then my mom's and floods her basement.
Here's your chance to build a pond.
Yeah, she doesn't want to line her garage.
They did, but a lot of it now is in the pavement, so uneven, every time it rains, it follows the wheel ruts and
Oh.
everything, and
Wow,
that's why I'm saying.
okay.
That's why, but if
Yeah.
it's gonna happen in 2 years, I guess I would just throw it out there. So if it's done
Yeah.
next year, the third year's, that issue is.
Thank you,
Yep.
thank you. So, okay, that was North
Sean,
Street.
Champ.
Okay. What's the system there, the drainage system in the village? I don't even know, it must all pipe out to,
It's
The black
catch basins, and it goes into the pond right behind, right over here, behind Main Street Garage, down in there.
oh, no kidding, it all goes in there.
Stretches all the way up behind the Proctor Daycare.
Gotcha, oh, okay. All right, so that's not too far to go, all right.
Speaking of the culvert assessment from Merrimack, we're gonna touch on that. We're
Yeah.
gonna proceed on that. They're gonna come up and take a look at, Merrimack County's gonna take a look at everything.
Yeah,
There could be some more.
right.
More
That was-
money.
That's
more
the
money.
grant money from there, but,
Right, and you're gonna prioritize that list, right?
right,
Okay.
we'll do it in the morning.
Okay,
It's
Okay.
upstairs, right? We have the list.
yeah, we've got it, yeah.
Very good.
Yep.
All right, thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to old business, and Mr. Zach Barton is first on the agenda. Do you want to talk from your seat, or you're
Oh,
welcome
yeah.
to stand up? You can sit on Jim's lap there in front of the,
I don't need to stand.
okay,
So I did the letter like you guys wanted me to,
yeah.
and that didn't get signed. So you can see what I'm dealing with. Sits up here and lies to you and then doesn't do anything.
Yeah, what we were a little surprised to find out was that a driveway not being a structure, there's no setback. It shouldn't have surprised us, we should have known that, but we did not know that.
You got that in writing so I can read it?
Yeah, it's, well, pardon?
Should be in the zone.
It should be in the zoning ordinance, so I
I'd
don't
like to see
understand
a
why we didn't see
Copy
it,
of it.
why we didn't see it before.
Can we get him a copy?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's online too, if you go to the town website, the whole zoning ordinance is online.
Yeah, if
But-
you could just get us a paper copy, because it's the website, I looked, but I couldn't really find.
Well, it's hard to
It's
shuffle
not-
through the
yeah,
whole
it's not
zoning
that well.
ordinance. So I hope you don't want a copy of the whole thing, it's a lot of
No,
paper.
no.
Just
Just that part,
Okay.
because last summer or fall, we met with the select board, or planning
Yeah.
board, and heard that that was the case, and that should have been in a letter from you guys, and then it was in the letter from us. Like, I think 2 instances of writing went to him, so
Mhm.
it's a little unsettling that that's not the case now.
All right, we're talking about the setback of the driveway, Paul, yeah. Paul Courier, member of the planning board, we asked him to come, he's here for another reason, but we asked him to come early so that you'd have a chance to talk to a member of the planning board and maybe not have to go on, we could have a conversation here and you wouldn't have to go on to another meeting, to another board. So do you have,
the culvert thing, that culvert's gonna be removed still? the one he sat up here and said that it would go away, because his water problem's now turned into my water problem, when there was never a water problem to begin with.
So, you know, that was a question, and I'm not trying to be difficult, but before the driveway went in,
There was zero water problem.
where did the water go?
It just saturated in the ground. He built a dam.
So it went into his property right where the driveway currently
There's a
is.
natural bowl.
There's a natural bowl, which
Yeah,
he
no.
now filled in.
And ditched both sides of his driveway into that. So when it rains, it all runs to one spot, when before it naturally just ran where it wanted to, it just went where it went.
Sank in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if the natural bowl is where he put his culvert, so it drains out of the natural bowl in the ground into the culvert onto Zach's property.
So if the culvert were removed,
You wouldn't have the problem.
would the water
You can't
wash
just-
out his driveway, or would it, is there enough
It would
space over
disperse,
there
it
to?
would disperse into the natural bowl.
Remember he sat up here and said he'd remove the culvert and do whatever he had to do to be a good neighbor.
You can even keep the pipe if you wanted to.
Yeah, and I don't want his culvert.
But
But his
that was
his
said.
water problems now became my water problem.
Jack and Cole up there by the fence was.
Yep. I mean, there was never ever, never a water problem at all.
Mhm, mhm. So,
Structure, the definition of structure.
So we wrote a letter anyway.
you wrote the letter.
We sent Josh.
We
a
did what
letter.
you guys recommended doing.
Yeah, and we haven't heard anything from him, and now we're just hearing that his driveway apparently doesn't need to be moved, but we don't.
Right, but he can't dump water
You can't
on
dump
your
water on your property.
property.
Right.
Right.
And
That's-
so
that's-
yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what our authority is,
Yep.
how we can help the
Yep.
situation. Dave, can you help me out here, or Paul?
It's a civil, it turns into a civil matter. He said he was gonna do something, he didn't do it. We don't have the authority beyond, the zoning ordinance we have in town, so it becomes a civil matter. We recommended that they work it out, if you will, the neighbors would work it out.
And
One neighbor said he would do something, apparently he has not done something. Water is still running into the abutter's property, which is, according to state statute, illegal. My water can't run onto her property, his water can't run on to a neighbor's property.
Well,
As
town
far
water
as
can't
what the-
run onto anybody's property either without an easement from the property owner.
Chris, if we put a new catch basin in, we need an easement, don't we?
If you're changing, well, if it's out of the right of way and it's on personal property, then you need an easement, yeah.
It's tricky in small towns, because without a sewage system where drains run, I mean, of course, water runs off of town roads into people's private property. I mean, you can't, without a town septic system, the water's gotta go onto people's properties. But in this
What
case,
I'm
you have
saying
a
is
culvert
like-
that's directing it all into your
Right.
property. And it
So I
should
never
be.
had a problem.
And you never had a problem.
Now I do, and
I
he doesn't.
understand that.
So he resolved his problem by giving me one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Zach, I'm trying to figure out, like I said, what our
Is it
authority
called
is.
halfway up the driveway? It's not on the end of the road, it's
Yeah,
halfway.
if we put the end right on the property
It's
line.
way up.
Like inches.
So it doesn't even like have a chance to disperse, like,
I just,
That's the definition of structure.
I don't know the difference as far as my thought process was a driveway permit.
It's under definition.
Was a driveway permit issued?
he didn't have a driveway permit.
So
Not the
maybe
last
Paul
time.
can answer to that, or John can, but to me, it just thinks that,
You're on the top.
and I don't know if the ordinance is still there, do you still need a driveway permit if you?
You need a driveway
Need it.
permit, but what the driveway permit speaks to is where the driveway meets the town road.
Right,
That
Not
part of it, not further.
within the town right away.
Right.
Right.
Once we get back beyond the town right away,
Then it's property owner, it's no longer a
it's not
town.
me. I mean, that doesn't-
Right,
Right, no, I get you, worried about half a mile driveway, whatever it is.
What about, you guys were sending him a letter with a list of things that were just like in violation from the town, including unregistered vehicles and campers on his property for more than 180 days without highway registration, sharing a driveway, no septic system, and he was supposed to come and do some of that stuff with you guys. I'm just wondering how that's gone. I know that you had a letter to send I think last fall. And I thought Zach would be updated on that, and I don't really think anything's happened, but I could be wrong.
Well, we don't
he's not-
update neighbors on,
No, but isn't that
People's-
public information? How?
right, but we
If you
don't
wanna
send
come
out
get it.
letters
No,
to,
okay.
right, neighbors on somebody's property. We wouldn't send out, if you were doing
If I'm-
something,
We were told
we
he
wouldn't
was
send
gonna
out.
be.
If I'm the one that complains about it, I don't get notified.
No,
So can
He's
you
gonna
not
be-
that?
not on something that doesn't affect your property.
He's gonna need a junkyard permit pretty quick.
Guess it's time for another visit, because he wasn't living there,
Right,
so the
that's what I was
septic
just
thing
gonna say.
wasn't-
That
wasn't, became a non-issue because he wasn't
Right.
living there. We didn't,
Is he living there now?
We will be soon,
yeah,
at the end of this.
Charlie
yeah.
moving back home, so
Yeah.
Tiger's giving him the boot, so.
all right.
No, I'm just wondering
It's
if we
time
could
for us
maybe-
to give another visit out there, obviously.
Yeah, maybe we
So
can
like
hear an update on
the
that.
condemned trailer that was dragged in from down the road, isn't that still considered a mobile home?
No one was living in it, it was being used for storage.
I thought
Um,
that guy was living in it. Behind Louis Barton's house. Right under the power lines.
Oh, where it came from, you mean,
Yes,
before they moved it
yes.
to Gee's property?
It was George Duquette's, Junior Duquette's on the road.
I mean, just cause you drag it up the road isn't it still
No,
a
Ed
mobile
Smith.
home?
Ed Smith. The one you're talking about.
Yes, that was it.
It was 212.
It used to be
That was
George Duquette's
Yeah.
years ago.
Right.
We're agents on it.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody.
This is the trailer when you took Ed
I
Smith.
remember.
All right,
I don't know.
we'll take another visit up there.
And if we request that information, we can have access to it? Like if we
Yeah.
request an
Upstairs.
update? Upstairs,
Yeah.
Upstairs.
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
So I wasn't part of that, some of that, but.
yeah.
Yeah, you missed out on.
Right, but even being in this position or whatever, but some of that was, like, the Department of Environmental Services went up there and looked at some of the
and there
concerns.
was,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they
They
came
did
in, so I don't know if you
address
got that report, I mean, I just saw that myself, I'm just letting you know. But they came back and said that there was no violations.
Right.
Right, that
You know,
was.
whether
what
anything's
the
changed
EPA
since then
Yeah.
or whatever, but,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. But they also left the deck is basically an open thing, it's not really ever closed,
Right.
if that's the terminology.
So whose issue is it that he built his driveway out of sand and every time it rains it washes onto my property? Who enforces that?
I don't know if that's a complaint.
I mean-
Marge and Vicky saw that.
Again, if it's,
It's a simple
yeah,
issue.
Did you say?
it's a
I said you
civil,
came over and saw all that.
Yeah,
we
I
did. If it's in the town right of way, then it becomes our issue, but unfortunately, it's an issue between you and your neighbor. We don't have any authority there.
So, guess I gotta get a lawyer then, cause he's not gonna change, he's just gonna keep
Yeah.
bringing junk in, he's not gonna,
Yeah, I mean, we
he's a
can do,
pathological liar, he's gonna come up here and lie to you guys, and he's gonna go back there and do whatever he pleases.
well, we'll check the number of vehicles, obviously, we'll check the habitation thing, if he's
Living in there.
living in there, and then therefore septic.
When's he getting out of?
I don't know.
I think November is what I heard, but.
Charlie's selling his house and moving home, so.
My thought process is the only reason I asked that is, no sense of going in 2 weeks from now. You
No.
can go up there, it's little garbage, you know, whatever he's got there, that may not be registered, what the case would be. But if you go up there to look at inhabitants and nobody's there, then he hasn't violated anything again.
Right.
So it's not just a one-time trip, then we have to pay attention to this.
Exactly.
He's gonna keep,
I've never had.
Well, yeah,
you know what I mean,
Absolutely.
the guy's a scammer, he's a,
yeah.
Paul, if a driveway goes in and a permit is not issued or
Yeah.
requested, it's just the driveway suddenly appears out of the clear blue. In the past, what have we done in a situation like that? The water issue is over here, but as far as somebody putting a driveway in without a permit, I've not run into that before.
I'm not sure that I have, but I think the fix for that is a retroactive driveway permit.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can do other things, but what you really want is the driveway to conform to our driveway ordinance where it meets the
And
road.
that's just where it meets the road.
That's where it meets the road.
Right.
But it still goes back to the same issue. As you say, retroactive, you go back, you go through the whole process again, and where the driveway meets the town road could be absolutely within code, or whatever you wanna call it. The issue still comes back to that when you go back into the property, the driveway itself has rerouted the water into a neighbor's property. And that in and of itself is the issue we're dealing with here. I don't care if there's culverts, whatever. The issue was, there wasn't a problem. The driveway seems to be the culprit, and that's a civil suit, correct?
Yes, that's what I heard. Yeah, there's certainly nothing in the town ordinances that
So I should probably just block the culvert off.
I don't know if you wanna, well,
Yeah,
There's
it's
of
on
course-
our land.
I mean, it's right in the valley, it's just.
Mr. Delaney.
Zoning has a setback ordinance on building
structure.
structures.
Actual structure.
where you have to be 15 foot from the property line.
Right.
And you're classifying the driveway as a,
It's not a structure,
Not a
so
structure.
it doesn't fit.
but if you put a fence up, it has to be 15 feet from the property line, doesn't it?
I don't think so.
Fence is not a structure.
Fence is-
Structures have to have walls and a roof.
Or foundation.
All right, we're gonna do our part, get out there, check and see if, what we have for vehicles and living situation, which triggers a septic again, and then I'm afraid we can't help you on the water issue.
One more question along Zach's question, kind of coattailing off. If something is pouring into my property, can I block it off, or am I basically making a bigger problem?
I'm not an expert, but I think you can certainly do things on your property. If you're doing something on somebody else's property, that's probably not a good idea.
Yeah,
No, I can do it right on my own property.
I'm sorry, you're saying a culvert is actually on your property?
No, it's right at the end of the
Oh,
property.
okay, yeah, yeah,
Like inches.
right, all right, I didn't mean to laugh, I just,
Here's the property line, here's the end of the culvert.
right, yeah, it's
So
just
we're
right
talking,
there.
we're talking this much space between.
Probably
Maybe.
not,
Probably
not even that.
You
Break
actually
that
have
up.
photos of it that have like the property line and you can see the pipe.
Yeah.
It's there somewhere.
Yeah,
He did no erosion control, no nothing, every time it rains, it just more sand washes on. I mean, nobody builds a driveway out of sand.
Huh. Yeah, it's pretty sandy in there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
That's all-
beach, it's
that's all it
beach
is,
sand.
yeah.
okay, I think we've gone as far as we can on this for tonight, unless anybody has any other comments or requests.
You think
All
of
right.
anything?
No, just I don't think any one of you guys would want to live right next door to a junkyard.
No,
No?
no, we have a
But
few
we have to go by
situations in
the-
town and,
Ordinance.
right,
You're absolutely right.
all right, Mr. Courier, you are up next on,
Can we give Zach a follow-up when, after the?
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. That'd be good. Thank you, guys.
thank you for coming.
Is this yours?
Yeah,
Oh, this one.
oh,
How are you?
Did you get a copy of that?
yes, okay, here we are.
I am here to request, and I don't know if the Board of Selectmen has
Did you like put them in?
a copy or.
Yeah, we got copies
Okay.
and,
To request that the Board of Selectmen vote to adopt the Class 6 road policy that the planning board had recommended to Selectmen in 2013. And actually, that the planning board had thought was in fact adopted, and apparently not.
Apparently not, right?
And this, just a little background, the master plan, which started in 2004, was ultimately adopted by the planning board earlier in 2013. It took a long time. And the planning board of the master plan committee took great pains to poll the town and to incorporate that into the master plan. And one of the things that we heard over and over again, and I was chair of the master plan committee, so if it was said, I probably heard it sometime during those 10 years. And we did hear over and over again that people in town really like the forested hillsides, basically the fact that most of the activity is concentrated in the valleys, the village areas, and forested hillsides look like forested hillsides. And there's all kinds of things in the master plan that say that. This was actually, Wood Sutton did most of the work on this, but this was a kind of a follow-up to that when the planning board became aware, one of the state statute, which places limitations on that, and two, that, I didn't bring a copy, but that it's kind of recommended that in the situation where the town doesn't want scattered development on what's not developed now, that they develop a policy which would complement the state law and would ensure that there was that there were fairly strict rules about what you could do on class 6 roads as a property owner on a class 6 road without any frontage. So it was presented to the select board in November of 2013, and we had thought that the planning board had thought that it was in fact adopted. My recollection is that the property on Emery Road, Davino's property, in which I had conversations with the property owner, and so did the select board. Duncan, I think, was chair at the time. And we presented that to the Davinos as this is an accomplished fact. So the request is that the Board of Selectmen formally adopt it, and also I'm firmly convinced that this does not, I mean, Peter Sanborn has a case for, that this does not, it does not bias that one way or the other. There are words right in the preamble that say the select board has the authority. On a case-specific basis, the select board will evaluate things on their merits and will make a decision on the merits. So.
To who gets a permit or not?
Right.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it's the first sentence.
It's the first sentence, yeah.
It says, under RSA 674-41, the Board of Selectmen has the discretion to authorize the issuance of a building permit or building permits on Class 6 town roads after review and comment by the planning board. It is emphasized that the Board of Selectmen will consider any factor relevant to the authorization of a building permit in a particular case. Therefore, this statement of policy is not intended to describe an exhaustive list of considerations, but to be a guide for the Board of Selectmen applicants for such building permits. And then the next sentence is, it is the policy of the town of Andover to preserve open spaces and contiguous land areas in keeping with the town master plan. And we also recognize, the selectmen also recognize the potential for development in areas that are not adequately accessible to emergency vehicles and which otherwise lack satisfactory public services. So it's right in the beginning, right?
And matter of fact, the specific intent is that is not to influence one way or the other things that are actively before the planning board or the board of selectmen, but to in fact do what the planning board had thought was done a while ago, to complement the master plan.
So one of the questions I had during the day was, let's say we establish this policy, and we say no to an individual building in a Class 6 road. And we cite our policy, but the person then can still go on to the zoning board of adjustment, even after being denied by the selectmen, because I think that is the first step anyway, so then they can go on to the zoning board of adjustment and get a variance or a special exception.
Well,
They can do that.
not exactly. An applicant that is denied by the board of selectmen, either based on, there would be two, if you adopted the policy, there would be the policy, and then there would be the state statute, and then there would be the zoning ordinance. An applicant who believes that either the board of selectmen or the planning board, for that matter, have acted in error, can take that to the zoning board of adjustment and explain what they think is in error, what the board of selectmen or the planning board has done in error, and ask for the zoning board of adjustment to undo it or overturn it. But in this case, and I believe you all have, there was a letter drafted which explains the steps to go through in the natural course of events.
Right.
And it starts with, if there is a policy in place, it starts with the select board in the particular situation, saying we're gonna disaffirm that policy, there's specific circumstances which, and then you go to, say,
Okay.
674-41.
Right.
And the planning board consults, or the board of selectmen is required to consult with the planning board, and then to issue a decision.
Right.
And again, I think at any point, the applicant can go to the zoning board of adjustment and say, the correct procedure has not been followed, or a correct decision has not been rendered based on the information that has been presented to whoever's making the decision.
Gotcha.
The statute, and I'm going from memory here, the statute specifically provides access to the zoning board of adjustment by an applicant. And we asked the town council about that, and his response, in my mind, did not clarify things a whole lot.
Poor Matt, he's answered these questions so many times, I think even he's getting confused.
Yeah, but I think the general consensus is that the statute, the law, does not envision a short circuit of the process between the planning board and the board of selectmen that goes directly to the zoning board of adjustment. That would come later, if for some reason the applicant thinks that there's been an error in the process. So
it'll be step one, step two,
right,
as opposed to going around and around for like.
but the step one would be selectmen make a decision based on the policy and the specifics of the case. Then step two is the select board, the statute comes into play. And the select board consults with the planning board and makes a decision pursuant to the law, whether or not to allow the permit. If the decision is yes, then the applicant needs to go to the zoning board of adjustment to get a variance, because the zoning ordinance doesn't allow buildings on lots that don't have frontage on a town-maintained road. So there would have to be a variance from that provision of the zoning ordinance.
which would encompass, again, the applicant would maintain the road, would be responsible for a range of things on that.
Right, that's, I believe that the statute requires that.
Yeah, all that would have to be in place, so the board of selectmen says, okay, we can issue a permit. However, the next step, that's not the last step, that's that's the next to the last step. It has to go to the zoning board of adjustment for a variance with this pile of information.
Right, the select board have agreed to issue the permit,
Yeah,
and then the applicant has agreed that, you know, to do to file the road maintenance, whole harmless thing, with the registry of deeds and all that, and the last step is the zoning board of adjustment. It goes to the zoning board of adjustment with all approvals from the select board and with the agreement that is to be registered, in hand.
But it's not just the class 6 road, in some cases, it's the zoning, right? If it's forest agriculture, that's another, you have to have an exception to be able to put a house there.
That's right.
No matter what.
That's a special
Yes,
exception,
that's a
and
special exception,
that's an
yes,
additional
that's an
step.
additional step.
Right, and he can do both of those at the same time.
Right, okay.
so that is in fact the way that it has been, but it was never signed off on, is what you're saying.
Right.
Even though according to all, there was only a mention of it, and an agenda, I think it was from 2013, or,
Yeah, yeah,
that appeared that it was signed,
right,
but we've been unable to find any corroboration.
right.
Right, and I have some correspondence back and forth from Duncan as chair of the select board, to me as chair of the planning board, which which infers that it was in place, but it's.
Officially did not get voted on, right.
Mark, do we get a copy of the master plan upstairs?
We do.
So,
Yeah, you bet, although this is mine.
Right, I won't, I can.
Yeah, and it's online too.
I went to some of those meetings. Interesting.
so, I'm not sure we can give you the vote right this minute, because we have to update one of our, we have to give Chuck a fair chance at educating
Right,
himself on
absolutely,
this. I mean,
yeah.
it wouldn't be fair for us to sit here and
Yep.
force a vote before he has all the background information that he needs. Yes?
I think you should do some research on why it wasn't signed in 2013 as well, because I do remember that whole incident, and I believe there was some other reasons that didn't get signed.
Oh, really?
Yes, had to do with the Emery Road project.
Well,
And
well, that was 2 years later.
I know, there's a guy right here that remembers it well too. So, I'm just saying, research back and see why it hadn't gotten signed.
Is it something we're gonna find in minutes, or is it something you guys are gonna tell us?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure enough now to tell you what the problem
I
is.
know that Emery ended up taking his to town meeting for a and town meeting classified that he could upgrade the vote to class 5.
Right, because they were having some issues with the planning board at the time to do so. It was headed to court,
No,
so.
no, it never came to the planning board until 2015.
Well, it came to town meeting, and town meeting
Right.
passed it so they could upgrade the road to class 5 due to the fact that they were not gonna be allowed to build out on the property they had bought at the end of Emery Road.
Right, and then my recollection
Roads, Emery.
was that was
Dr. Rose's house?
Yeah.
So,
Shaw's.
crossing.
down over the hill.
Shaw's,
Too many
Jones,
people talking to me.
the vineyards.
Up by Hoyt Road,
You come up over to, go to Shaw's Farm, you take the
Oh, yes,
left
yes,
over the
okay,
vineyard.
yes.
And then you go down over the hill and it gets fairly steep. My recollection is,
I know, but
Right.
It was gonna cost them over $100,000 to
Well-
upgrade the road to what they wanted.
As personal input, I know both sides of it. I know the rules of both sides. And the way it is now, the selectmen make the decision. I've seen pretty responsible decisions come out of the selectmen. So that's
It
just.
doesn't look like this policy would change our ability to go either way, though.
We're basically following the policy, except for the fact that we had them go to the planning board first, then the zoning board, they use us as a last, you as a last resort.
That's the statute, that's the law.
That's the law,
Yeah.
that's the state law. State law supersedes anything you put in this town law.
I was just bringing up that I know it was a topic, it didn't get signed for a reason. I don't know what that reason was.
I think the way it's working now, it's working fine. I don't see why the planning board wants everything done in paper. It's working the way that it was established. It goes in front of you, it goes to zoning, and then it goes in front of the selectmen if they're declined by both boards.
No.
That's the way it's been.
Well, I believe you misunderstand the statute.
Well, I'm just telling you, the way it's been, is that the select board is the final representative of people that have been declined by other boards.
I believe you also misunderstand the circumstances surrounding Davino's and Emery Road, and those records are certainly available.
You're right, but I don't, this is one thing I do understand. That the town of Andover has approximately 2,800 people, 1,800 people pay taxes. And if the way things are going, you have to have more people living in town, building more places in town to sustain a growth rate for the town. Because if you don't, it becomes stagnant. And once it becomes stagnant, we can't pay for anything because there's not enough people in town to pay for stuff.
Okay, we don't need, that is a good argument, but we're
That
not
would
going
be
down that road
actually-
on this issue.
And actually, that would be a really good argument for, I wish you would come to some master plan meetings, because that's the kind of thing that needs to get incorporated into the master plan and that we need to hear from. And just, if I can digress,
go ahead.
just for a minute. The master plan recommends fairly strongly that that businesses be encouraged, that recreation be encouraged and so on. And yet, when the planning board attempted to create the first business district in town, it went over like a lead balloon. It was shot down by the people in town, the very thing that you were talking about.
I know.
So, maybe we need to
More voices,
rethink
more voices.
we need to yes, we need a master plan. We tried desperately to get the voices.
Upgrade our master plan.
Yes, we need, and we need to upgrade the input from people like you and other people. What the master plan needs to reflect what the people in town want. And you made some very good points there.
But you have to reach all levels of people in town when you create.
You try.
Oh, my goodness, we tried, we put a survey in the Beacon, we had meeting after meeting after meeting. We put them in, read the master plan, there's a record of all the Beacon articles. Please give us your input.
Right.
And it was hard to do, it was hard to do. Matter of fact, what's his name, Continental Machine. Continental, Armin was a mover and a shaker in that master plan, and he got fed up with the process halfway through and said, yeah, what the heck?
Nobody's.
Just to bring the boards, Chris Turgeon's here from the DOT.
Oh,
I think I said my piece.
okay, I'm sorry.
I think the other thing that comes out of this too is the master plan is not a stagnant piece of paper. It's
Right.
something that's a living piece of paper.
Absolutely.
We need to take a look at it and make sure that it grows along with the town and doesn't choke the town. So along those lines,
Yeah.
Jim, and the same thing, we need to take a look at it from time to time and bring it into today's world versus, 10 years ago.
And yes, and as a matter of fact, because it took 10 years to do, the master plan was out of date the day it was approved by the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
And the input, because the input actually from people was pretty old at that point. So yes, absolutely, it needs to be worked on.
All right,
All
thank you,
right,
Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
That was a good review. And how often does the master plan get reviewed
As often as we
officially?
can stand it.
Just as often, and you're still
That's an
recovering
honest
in the
answer.
last.
3 to 5 years is kind of, if you go to the Office of State Planning,
Yeah.
they'll say 3 to 5 years. We did one in 76, we did one in 92, and we did one in 2013. And
Yeah, wow.
That started, when did that start? You finalized
it started in 2004.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long haul.
Okay.
And it needs to be done again.
I agree.
3 to 5 years?
Yeah, but, yeah.
3 to 5.
And I know you've done a lot of background search on this, Class 6 roads. I guess we can take a look at it over the next several days, because we have a planning board meeting on next week, I believe. See if we can find anything, anywhere,
Find anything anywhere for,
to see if it was this thing, well, along the lines of what Jonathan said, everybody was led to believe that it was signed off on.
I think
Like
we're
I
pretty
said, I don't
clear it
know
was
for
not
sure.
signed off
Yeah,
on.
but
Yeah, I
if
think
if
we're- I
there's
think we're
something
there.
else that
There
we're
is.
not sure of.
But that's what, yeah,
And
There is a town and country, the local government association.
Oh, town and city?
Town and city
Magazine?
article, which I can email to, I'll email it to you, Margie, which goes over, it's basically a summary of all, local, management and jurisdiction on town roads. And I believe, if my recollection is correct, that they recommend such a policy if, if the town, doesn't want, scattered development out on Class 6 roads.
I've got that edition, I think.
Yeah, so I'll.
For some reason,
send
it's
it to
struck.
her. Yeah.
yeah, it's a good publication. All right,
I think I have that at home, too. So,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
thank you, Paul, very much.
Okay, we need to go backwards. I'm really sorry, Chris. It's been so long, and your hair is a whole lot shorter than it used to be. I did not recognize you. So, please, come on up. Or actually, for the sake of the camera,
Well, I think I would just ask, a rep was asked to be here to answer a question, should they come up, so. I don't really have a presentation.
oh, we thought there was gonna be a,
Right.
No, it's
Present.
informational. To tell you where we are. This
Where are
was-
okay, so we weren't prepared for that at all. We don't,
I thought you were coming to tell us where we stood, and update us on the next move we had to make to
The last,
settle things.
the most current thing is the temporary use agreement was sent to the town,
Yeah.
and we're waiting for that signature on that.
oh no, but we
We submitted a whole list of
list of
questions.
questions.
You just got a new one from the Attorney General's office, didn't you?
Right. We took that, we took those comments on the TUA,
Yeah.
and we revised it, and we just resubmitted it last week.
Okay.
So we're waiting for the signature on that, basically to kind of, not timestamp things, but to get that under the agreement and out of the way, and then the process goes forward with trying to figure out how we disperse the property. Assistant Commissioner Bill Cass has had right away move forward with assessing the whole property as kind of like a high-end type thing. If anything else is done, then it's gonna be below that, but it's hard to appraise something that you don't know. The process was supposed to go sign the TUA to kind of just acknowledge where we are and where we're gonna go. And then it was gonna be a back and forth with the town and the DOT on did the town want part of it, did they want all of it, did they want none of it? Kind of going back and forth on that, negotiations. But it took longer than usual to get that back, and then us getting it revised took a little time too, so, and that brings us to where we are today.
When I talked to Mr. Cass, he explained that the MOA basically isn't a legal document to hold you hostage to any prices. It is a paper trail so that everybody knows who's been negotiating in good faith.
Right, because we haven't seen any prices.
Right.
There haven't been any.
Because the property has to be
So that's
assessed.
just, right.
They have a section of land.
Yeah.
That Mr. Cass pointed out. And he and I talked about, which I explained in March.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's another section that I told him that I thought should be added to that section.
Now, I assume that section of the land is just the sections that we're using for our
Yes.
highway.
It has nothing to do with the railroad section whatsoever.
Mhm.
We have no interest in that property down on the lower half.
Mhm.
I told him if you went in the driveway, it was 100 feet over from the edge of the driveway, over and up.
So the side that we ever building all that stuff on is we have.
Everything on the right
Right.
is what we're interested in, and straight up and across, down.
So the
I
agreement,
don't wanna say anything.
to negotiate was, we did sign it. It came in, Matt reviewed it.
You didn't sign it. You didn't sign it. I don't think. The first one?
No, not the first one.
we did
Oh,
not.
no.
There was a second agreement to negotiate came in, and we'll make, well, I thought we signed it, maybe it's still up with Matt.
I think it came in last week.
What's the
didn't it?
piece of land now that we're even talking about?
Well, if it
Because
came
I'm
in last week,
completely
we haven't
confused.
seen it.
I'm completely confused
Well,
on
That's with that.
I can't say
what
anything
piece
on
we're
it.
talking about, so
Why
Let
don't
me
you?
go up and check my,
I get that, but
I thought I forwarded it.
too many pieces to one piece of land.
I know there's like three different pieces to the parcel that DOT is claiming.
Right, and there's certain parts that should not be discussed in public.
Right, okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I've asked it before, but has the lawyer gone back to the surveyor who surveyed it out, said we own it, and tried to hold him accountable for what he surveyed? I mean, he should be held accountable if he said we own it. He's supposed to check that stuff out.
That's part of the negotiations really that we can't get into.
Well, the lawyer should be pushing it, I would
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's been thoroughly checked out.
All right.
There's a lot of stories.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well,
Yeah, let's not-
just curious.
let's not get
Anybody
into
put pressure on the surveyor?
No,
And
I don't wanna
Memories
discuss-
get long and short all at the same time.
Yes, yes, we have talked to
Okay,
surveyors.
good.
Yeah.
I wanted to discuss the fact that there was a certain part of the property that we would need.
Mhm,
There was another section of the property I thought that we should have,
mhm.
and I don't want to discuss anything else beyond that point, except that
Right.
the MOA, I believe, came in last week.
I sent it the Friday before Memorial.
Right. And so, and that's got all the revisions in it. And when I talked to Mr. Cass about it, I explained the reasons why we didn't sign the original one.
Mhm.
And we had a discussion on it, and he said, well, it's nothing that's gonna be binding to you, it just gives us a paper trail back and forth, and gives us the negotiation powers to go back and forth.
Yeah, I think Marge emailed it to us, but we are having a work session
Am I
this
wrong?
week, we can,
It just establishes what we found and setting the precedence from there forward as in the use until it's
Right.
divided.
okay.
Because if we
So I'm
don't,
signing, okay.
if you don't sign it, they could actually come in and say, you haven't signed the agreement.
Right, right.
It establishes the parameters, which we have a work session on Thursday.
Mhm.
Okay.
So we can,
All right,
we can take care of that. then.
just a question going forward, Chris.
Sure.
We read it, we sign off on it. It came in, as you said, the Friday before, people, okay. We're gonna sit down with it on Thursday and go through it, and boom, we sign off on it. We're looking at, not the whole parcel, looking at specific parcels, et cetera.
Right.
It goes back, this is what we want, this is what we think we're entitled to. Of course, there's gonna be two sides to every story, I understand that. At that point, that's when we sit down and discuss the issues, historical issues, you know, this is what you found, this is what we found, this is what we've been told over the years through numerous road agents, through numerous boards, assumptions, right or wrong, and really nail this thing down. Or, I mean,
This is
Or
where
are you-
negotiations.
So I think we've already, I think both sides have agreed that it is DOT owned land, either it's surplus right of way, right of way owned or surplus railroad.
okay.
Now we're just at the part of, I would recommend that, I think exhibit 2 in the thing shows all the different pieces of property and how they were, what their status is of what the ownership. I would recommend the town look at that, look at where your existing facility is, and look if you wanna walk, if you wanna buy the whole thing, or somewhere in between. And basically draw lines on that map, that would be the starting, you'd give it to us, the right of way department in Concord. And then that, they would look at that, because there's federal highway stuff involved, there's other things involved that all need to be ironed out. But that first, this is what the town proposes, that kind of kicks it all off,
Got it.
starts the whole process.
I gave them margin map.
Okay,
Yeah,
Okay.
which I saw.
okay.
The next question is the land directly available to the town of Andover, or does it have to go? You guys are gonna see if you want it first, go through the whole
There is
procedure.
a surplus land acquisition process, which it does go out to other entities first.
Right.
And there was, I think there was not too long ago, the town was interested in purchasing a piece of that right away or their lands. And I think only Dread came back and Fish and Game came back wanting access to the river and access to the rail trail or something like that. So it's part of it's already been vetted. I can't speak to other agencies. I don't know who would, say, hey, that'd be a great spot for a 5-story apartment building. I'm not, I mean, I don't know. It's, but Phil Miles in the right-of-way department, he'll be handling all that. But they are, like you said, they are starting the appraisal process. That is kind of the first thing, just to get that ball rolling, so.
Okay.
And he said once the MOA was in, and we submitted the map to him, the updated map of what the town was interested in, that would move the appraisal up faster.
I can't
No, I
speak
mean,
to
that's what Bill told me.
Okay. All right, we'll get that done on Thursday.
Well, at another time too, there's a couple of historical questions that are still
Yeah, well, that's where all the
little birds
illustrations
under
come
my
in,
saddle, and I
sit
think
down.
those need to be clarified because they're bothersome
But we have to have
to
a
a lot of
starting
our
point
residents. Yeah,
to get to an end.
understood.
And right now, we're in limbo.
Okay,
Okay.
Thursday we can sign
We
it.
can do it, we can talk about it on Thursday, yeah. I forwarded it to all of you on the
Yeah.
29th.
Yes, yes. Okay. I think we're good
Okay.
for the next step,
Sounds
anyway.
good.
And again, I apologize for keeping you sitting there.
That's
I
okay.
don't know why. I'm looking at DOT and I'm like, who is this? And, oh, gee. Anyway. Oh, dear.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, thanks, Jim. Night, John.
Good night.
Yep. Okay,
All right, Herb, to your left, do any of your questions apply to
No, I
anybody who's
just
left?
sitting here nosing it.
Thank you.
You know,
okay,
seeing what's going on.
okay.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep, you're welcome.
All right, final review of RFP transfer station builder. So, yeah,
Just wanna make sure.
so is that
it's
just
ready to go.
to show us and then we look at it, but I think we have all looked at it.
Yeah.
And I think,
I mean,
yeah, we are
I
ready to
made the
go.
changes
Yeah.
that
I
you
read
did
it
on the
over
draft, and it's
Yeah.
ready to go out, and tomorrow is
Right, so the
June
change
5th, so,
about, right,
and the changes are all pretty minor.
they were recommending the, respirators and,
Right.
right, filling in all the times and everything. That's all been
For the
done.
vermin
Right.
incursion.
Vermin incursion,
Yes.
okay. Go. Do we all agree? We'd love to keep him here longer, but do we all agree that
Joe, while you're here.
Chief can go?
Actually, never mind.
What's that?
Never mind, I'll talk to Stone Point.
Sorry,
Nothing major.
I'll swing by tomorrow.
Okay. Lock the door behind you, please. All right. Okay, so we're good with that then. What happens next? That goes out to,
We need to put it out on the sign, and I will send it out to all the contractors on our list.
so you're gonna, what do you put out on this sign?
Just, contractor bid packets
Okay,
here
for transfer station?
for transfer station,
Okay.
here for
Are
TS
you,
here.
are you guys gonna take care of that sign, or do you need
No.
to sign ninja to do
I
that?
need to sign them and just do it.
I will be there tomorrow.
She was climbing over the snowbanks and practically burrowing through one there, so we dubbed her the
Sign
the
ninja.
sign ninja.
Sign ninja. RFP sign, okay, but we'll have to live together with the, last day of school sign.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's that, all right, new business, lighting, culvert tunnel.
Yeah.
What?
Well, I got an email from Tom France this afternoon, and I have it here somewhere in the pile. I had emailed him right after we talked about it before and said that it seemed that that would be a Friends of the Northern Rail Trail
Yeah, right.
thing.
Mhm.
And he says, "Hi Marge, I did see your previous email on the lighting of the Lawrence Street culvert, but wanted you to see the info the New Hampshire Electric Co-op sent me. It appears the project would add only several dollars per month to the electric bill. I know the town doesn't have an electrician, but if the Friends of the Northern Rail Trail paid for the electrical work, would the town then be okay with the small incremental increase in the bill? That would be administratively simple.
Well, I mean, yeah,
And what does he say?
since we turned off everybody's lights a few years ago, we can add one.
Bill Johnstone
So popular.
from New Hampshire Electric said, based on Bill's observations and comments, it appears that installing LED lighting inside the tunnel with the lighting powered by the town of Andover's existing service would be the most logical option. In this case, the town would contract with an electrician to install the lighting, and as Bill mentioned, NHEC could look at the possibility of providing the town an incentive through the core programs to assist with the installation. I'm happy to discuss potential solutions with you in more detail at your convenience. Craig T. Snow.
So who's responsible for vandalism?
Good question.
I don't think we should
Security.
line ourselves up to be responsible for that.
Yeah, and is the PD supposed to go down there on a regular basis?
Yeah, our guy's gonna be down there every 3 days, and kids in there throwing rocks at it, smashing them out, is there any, you're just gonna put in
Oh my.
regular LED lights with no vandalist proof type cover over them? I mean, I think you're getting into a deeper process over there, it sounds very simple, like you're gonna put a light up here, but
It's so reachable, so easily
Absolutely.
reachable. And even, I don't know if you were aware of the trouble we had with the lights at the park and the control thing that
Yeah.
had, the kids were always ripping open the box for control to keep the lights on, so they wouldn't, because they were supposed to automatically turn off, and it didn't matter what we put on that, they just kept ripping off to keep the lights on all night. Oh my goodness, I, of course, wasn't thinking about vandalism when I thought this was such a great idea. Right, I mean, here we can't even keep our street signs up,
Right.
and,
well, I'm not a fan of it. I just think it adds to I don't wanna say it's their trail, but, I mean, if they need a light, then I think should be their responsibility. I just think
we
it's
could put
liability.
one of those little battery, like, people put out on their barns and stuff, where you see motion and it comes on, and how much those cost,
Yeah, but you'd be replacing them
no,
every
I mean,
week.
try one out.
Oh, I
And
see.
find out how long it lasts, and say, well, instead of doing a permanent installation, we decided to do this to see how long it would last, and then it'll be gone, or not, who knows? But, I have to agree with Chuck, it's just so accessible under there.
It is
It's-
very
it's,
accessible.
It'd be really cool to put a motion detector thing on, like people have, but anyway, in the summertime, it's not it is an issue. It's an issue even in broad daylight, because once you get into that darn tunnel, you can't see a thing. Except the light at the end of the tunnel.
And thank goodness it's there.
And thank God it's there.
As far as that tunnel is concerned right now, it is the responsibility of the rail trail people, right?
As far as
As
I
far
know.
as I know.
Maintenance, anything inside that needs to be done. I'm sure maybe like a snowmobiles club, maybe pitch in on something, I don't know.
Yeah.
What I don't want this to do is to roll into
Right back
another
into another
responsibility
responsibility for
that
us,
falls
right?
to the town.
Right.
Yeah.
We've got a number of things
I
that
agree, there's a lot rolling.
that everybody's heart's in the right place. I agree it'd be a great project, but I've seen a number of things kind of roll to the town, and the next thing you know, it's like, I don't wanna get into the electrical business, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
If somebody needs help, of course, we'll be there to help, but we can't do it, we can't keep absorbing
Yeah.
Right.
these duties, and at the same time, try to justify budgets to the people that we serve,
And I think it just pulls our highway guys away from projects that really need to be done.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about getting oil to people's houses over on a bridge,
Right.
or we're talking about putting light bulbs in a tunnel. And I'm not trying to make light of it or be sarcastic,
I'm
but
trying to make
to
light
me,
of it.
yeah. Pardon me?
No pun intended, making light of it. Okay,
As Ricky Bobby said, with all due respect.
yeah.
But I'd rather have them doing Last Street, getting oil trucks over there, or emergency service and stuff.
Point made.
it's not-
I
it
think
doesn't
we
mean you
take a
can't pitch
pass at
in.
this point.
Right.
You know, if there's a
Yeah.
volunteer day or something where people do this stuff, you know, we wanna be a part of it. But I just don't want it to roll into one more thing we've gotta put as a line item under maintenance.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion that we take a pass on, having the town light the
Yep.
culvert for all of the reasons just noted, for vandalism, cost, just another duty that we would have to be on top of. Anybody wanna second that?
I second.
Okay, all in favor of passing?
Aye.
Okay,
Dave Wood.
passing meaning saying no at this time, okay. All right, Marge, creating and maintaining a positive work culture,
Oh, yeah,
which is in here,
yeah, it's in,
yeah.
when we went to the conference last
That
month,
was just an outstanding
it
conference.
really was. I learned an awful lot. They mentioned that Primex was starting a year-long program called Creating and Maintaining a Positive Workplace Culture. And so I applied and figured,
Yeah,
I'll apply, I won't get in, but,
Right,
you know,
right.
everybody's applying. And I was one of 20 that was accepted. So a lot of it is done online. There are 3 mornings this summer when I'll have to be at Primex. But it's you build a team within your workplace to create a positive culture. And I'm hoping that if we learn how to do that, we can project positivity to everybody, taxpayers, and kind of present things differently. And do a better job of listening to what they're saying. So, you're all on my team.
well, I was gonna say, you on the team's like pretty much everybody's on it, because we're so small.
That's
But I was
They
picked
emailed
last.
They emailed me and said, are you including your elected officials? And I emailed back and said, well, yes, I am. And they said, well, you better let them know.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
letting you know.
Okay, we're on the team, all right. Do we get team t-shirts?
Yeah,
Great,
absolutely.
that's what I want.
Yep.
Anything else on that?
Nope, that's it. That's it.
I
I
have-
have an email from them that I can't open, only because my login stuff isn't working correctly.
I wanted to do, I forgot to do a report on the Proctor Town Liaison Committee meeting that we had on May 15th. Just a few things that were mentioned was, one of the things that was, I reported on, the whole reason the committee was made was because people were getting upset with the amount of property that was being purchased by Proctor. And we felt like they were taking property off the tax roll, and there was a feeling that they wanted to do a payment in lieu of taxes kind of agreement with Proctor. So this committee was started a long time ago. Almost 20 years ago, I'm thinking. It was a long time ago. Anyway, instead of doing the payment in lieu of taxes, Proctor does a ton of stuff in the community and for the community. But what I wanted was, they have given me a 3-year history of the taxes that they pay to the town. So in 2016, they paid $117,000 to the town in taxes. In 2017, the new dining hall was partially built and was taxed, and that contribution went up to $140,000. Now that the new dining commons and the gym and the field house are finished, their new contribution for 2018 will be $187,000 change. So, it's always confusing, you know, some of their property is.
Hello?
Hello, are you guys still like going along?
We are, we're going along, we're still in public. Yep.
You got your just in time.
Just in time, yeah. So anyway, it's confusing trying to figure out which part of Proctor is taxable and which parts aren't, but these two new buildings are a big addition to our taxable
So
income.
you were saying before, just to clarify, like, some of the buildings, depending on where the students are and whether there's faculty in it, there's this, like a sub,
They're
could be
actually split.
50/50 or
Exactly.
25/75
Exactly,
taxable.
yeah, yeah. It's the faculty, faculty housing that is not taxable.
Right.
Because the dorms, that's income producing.
Right,
Um,
and you can't have kids there without having supervision,
Right,
is the other piece of it.
anyway, so,
Yeah.
anyhow, so that's, and when they do their timber cuts, we get taxed, and they're doing a big one on
Yeah, they're
Elbow
doing a
Pond
big
Road, so we get that. Because they do a lot of forest management in terms of timber cutting and stuff. So that was just something new.
And they do that all right by the book. Dave Pilla is
Yeah.
in charge, and boy, he's on top of it.
Yeah, yeah, he's a great guy, he's a great resource to our town. They are positioning themselves to buy the old English house.
I figured they would be.
Yep, yep. And there's a swing bridge over the Blackwater River that they have to replace, and it's gonna be somewhere to the tune of $130,000, which I was shocked.
Gonna be some different than it is.
Shocked to hear. I know, and I thought, I've only seen it
Rope
once, I tried to
supplies.
canoe
Last
under
time.
it, you can't get under it, you have to go around it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you do, that's true.
it's huge, and they're also looking to drench their pond, because their pond is getting shallower and shallower with all
They've
the.
applied to DES for a permit.
That's
for
gonna
the
be
dredging.
about $100,000
Yeah, that's
project for them
expensive.
too. So that was just the news from that meeting I wanted to share with everybody. So, before we go into our very last thing before non-public, which is correspondence and signatures, a new member of the public has shown up. Steve Barton, how can we help you?
I have a question. I don't mean to be dragging up old dirt or whatever you wanna call it. But in the Beacon, the follow-up, the town meeting follow-up letter that you had wrote,
Oh, yeah, yeah. You didn't get, the whole letter didn't get put in, but anyway, yeah.
so, but I guess my question is, it says, it's two questions. The operating budget line for town building repairs and maintenance was $7,500. The line was overspent by $11,707.
Oh, 17.5.
I think it's a misprint, 17.
It says 7,500?
Says
It was 17, I didn't
Well,
catch
that's
that.
what I'm gonna ask you, if that was a misprint.
That is a
It's
misprint.
at 17.
Yeah.
That covers that one.
Yep.
And then, see, I'm telling you, it's easy.
Yep.
And then this year, the town voted to reduce expenditures of town office by 25,000. The proposed budget was 15,000. As we have taken the budget line for town building maintenance and repairs down to 0 and had to find other places to find remaining 10,000.
Right.
So, I'm hoping you're gonna tell me it's another misprint,
Uh-oh.
cause
Sure, I didn't.
in the town report, somewhere in the town report, the selectmen's 2018 budget for town building maintenance was 35,000. and the budget
That was
committee-
proposed, but,
Oh, that's the proposed budget, right?
right, but
And
it was, right,
In the Beacon, you said it was proposed at 15,000.
17,700.
17.5, let's see. I'm looking.
We ended up taking, I thought we ended up taking, did we end up taking 20?
I got it right here.
I can remember 17.5 when we sat down and cut that figure, what was on our paper in front of
Yeah.
us.
Yep,
Because we took stuff out of the beach, we were just talking about the beach house, we took,
Well, we had some,
Yeah.
right, took some money out of one of the other department heads and changed it back.
So I guess my main question is, in here it was proposed at 35,000.
right, so we,
The 35 was in
did
a,
we take the 25 away from 35, or
No.
did we take the
the
25 away from
35 was in the
17.5, right?
Well,
35 was in the expendable trust fund.
Oh, 35 is
So
in the
we can't,
expendable
we
trust
can't
fund,
take an
right,
operating budget
Right.
reduction and
right,
use, so that's what that is.
right, we had added, right,
So we added money to the trust fund at this last budget,
we did.
Yeah.
So there.
which got it up to 35, is,
Yep. That's the ET, the expendable trust
Trust
fund,
fund.
ETF.
right.
Yep, 35.
you lost me. I'm not
Okay.
saying you're wrong.
Let me show you.
That's why I'm here to ask.
I know. So we have the operating budget, which was 17.5.
Bump in the log, I have a copy of the town report too.
Take a look there.
Wait,
And we had to take, we took that down to 0,
Mhm.
and then took the rest from other places. We couldn't touch the 35,000 because that's in an expendable trust fund, like capital reserve fund, so that had to stay.
Yep.
So we wound up taking from, we took tax collector, I gave 500 out of the welfare.
You stole my budget.
1,000, yes. No, I don't think we did,
I know.
I don't think we wound up taking that.
we didn't touch
Do you have
the
the
forest
final
budget at
list?
all.
We took some out of the beach house.
Yeah, the
was-
beach
was a big
house.
one, because we knew it wasn't gonna take the 10 grand. So I think we
Yeah.
took 5,000 out of that.
I've got the list upstairs.
I
We
know
took
we didn't
some-
touch his,
No, we didn't touch this, and we didn't touch highway.
right.
We take some out
Right.
of, a lawyer.
Yep,
Yeah, we took some out of
$1,000
legal.
legal.
About legal.
Yeah, 1,000 out of the tax collector, 500 out of welfare. I can't remember the others.
Well, that's
But if you
that's
can-
all right. That's-
If
you-
you come in
You've
tomorrow, I'll
already
give you the
answered.
list.
I've been trying to get here, Marge, for a month, and it hasn't worked. I'm lucky I made it here tonight.
Okay.
So that's the expendable trust.
Right,
That's not the operating budget.
no,
Where do you find that in here? It's not
the operating budget,
for the town building maintenance.
they're all lumped.
Okay.
Um,
Right, to all town buildings.
Yeah, town buildings. We're not gonna do it this way again next year.
I hope not.
because we can't find anything ourselves. Jeez. We were so good at pouring things out.
That's-
General government buildings, right there, I got it. But it's all of them.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I had a minute. I was like, I gotta stop and ask,
Yeah.
Those are
because
good
So that's
questions.
I
We
have
took
to.
the repairs and maintenance of this building down, so,
Let's see.
and we left the 35,000 in the capital
For
reserve,
emergency
because we had to.
repairs.
Yeah.
Right.
So it brings me to another question.
You are a man of many
Hey, I'm
questions.
telling you, you have no clue.
I think I do some.
The front door,
Yeah,
Yeah.
is that going out to bid to be changed?
well, we tried, and we couldn't find. Yeah,
Is it gonna be out there? I'll give you an estimate to change it. I'll put a bid in on it.
Well, we've ordered a door and we're gonna have our guys do it.
Okay. Do you
Save money.
want like some input? I'll throw free input. Not that they ain't capable of doing it, but they do other things for a living. They're smart individuals, but
I personally, with that whole thing, I think the casework should be done by somebody that does that as a professional thing. If you want guys to change the door, that's not.
We weren't gonna try to do the casework, we were gonna replace the door and
And the
paint the
lock.
trim, and then wait
That's what I'm talking
until
about.
another year
Is
to
it-
have,
my phone
yeah.
number hasn't
I thought the
changed.
trim was metal
My
case.
attitude towards helping the town hasn't changed.
We used a piece of wood and painted it.
Oh,
They were
okay,
just-
then never mind.
They wound up
I
painting.
was thinking
But-
it had white fascia.
But we're
Well,
gonna get,
aluminum
well, we're
instead of
gonna, we got, it is
developed
gonna
burn
be
out.
done in metal, but we have a friend of the town who's got one of those,
Metal brakes.
yeah, and he's gonna do that. So we used the guys to do the door and the lock, and then they just put the wood in and painted it, and then they'll use the metal brake or whatever
Yeah,
and put that
you
in.
gonna, break?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, certainly a friendly observer who would like to provide input and
Say so.
years of experience.
And next year, when we have a budget, we can
Now-
get more work done, we'll give you a call.
That doesn't mean I'm not gonna try to cut it. But just, town meeting went bad, selectmen's meeting went bad, but it doesn't mean that I'm not here to help like I used to in the past.
Oh, I
Understood.
appreciate that
So, if
very,
you-
very much.
Want input, help, suggestion, tools, if he was talking about a break or whatever, just,
Really appreciate
Speak up.
that.
Okay.
Really, really
Because
appreciate that, Steve. Yeah.
I was,
You're telling me.
you got me, I ain't going no farther, I just say something.
Well, you know,
else, okay?
there is that tunnel with lights. That's an inside joke, I'm not going there.
We'll explain it tomorrow.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye. All right, that takes us to correspondence and signatures, unless there's any other new business.
I just want to bring up something while we're doing correspondence and signatures.
Okay,
We were
I don't
talking
think I've been
about
talking
Proctor,
right at the same time.
Proctor kind of doing their
Yeah.
pond.
Yeah,
Where do we stand on the Highland Lake drawdown? I know we're supposed to like start,
July 15th is, if we're going to do it, we need to start the process,
all right,
July 15th. I have it on my calendar.
yeah.
We need to talk about it at the board meeting prior to
Well-
that, because is it something that we want to
is
do?
it something we even wanna do, because if you draw it down, you have to look at the depth of the channel. If you draw it
There's not
down,
really-
In the summer.
nobody's gonna be able to go into the, put their boats
I
in.
just put my deposit on my dock down there, so. No, I will tell you, the person that I do have my dock, when I was telling him,
You
just
have a dock down there? Okay.
a little bit of a conversation that we had, and, I actually misspoke, because I said June 15th, I didn't realize it's July 15th. I can say he wouldn't have been so happy. He's looking more towards, we're gonna do it towards the end of summer.
Right,
You gotta start
That's when the
you gotta
action-
start the process now,
it's a long
Right.
process.
in order to,
You gotta notify everybody, you know, it's a,
The water,
Big long
the water
thing.
thing starts around September,
the
Yeah.
physical.
it has to be done by, it has to be done by
October
middle of October.
Yeah.
15th, before the critters start burrowing in
Yeah.
Yeah.
the winter, they need to be under the water level.
So physically, the level of the lake would not start to come down probably until mid-September, because
Right, it
based
doesn't
on the
take that
historical
long.
stuff,
It doesn't
people
take long.
say the lake goes down pretty quick when you do it.
Mm.
It also comes back equally as quick.
Right.
So, but the process, the paperwork to get through this,
Mm.
There's a lot to it. We had no idea
Good
last year how
clarification.
much was involved.
Right.
Yeah.
I would not want to upset anybody where you have your dockage.
Me neither.
Not you in particular, but all you liveaboards down there.
Okay,
That's funny. Right, well,
I
we
don't have
can talk
any,
about it Thursday, I guess.
Yeah.
I wrote it down on the calendar anyway.
I don't have any correspondence, but I do have things for signature. I have a, Notice of intent to cut for Duncan Coolidge.
I think it's beyond an intent. I think he's pretty much doing it. What is the date today? I'm sorry.
He's on the.
Fourth.
4th, 6th?
He's on
Six,
in there.
four.
Pardon me?
He hasn't touched the tree. He's on in there. He opened his land in out.
Oh,
But actually, it was an existing land and that's a right of way.
I didn't know that. Done with it?
I know everything, dude.
That's why you're here.
That's right.
That's why you're here.
It's called a historian.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right away to
yeah.
his property off of Route 11.
I didn't even realize that. That was
So
in there.
acres, somebody's been asking me, well, how many acres of cut are people doing? This one is 45.
He's the one doing that. It's an intent to excavate, it's an annual thing that they file every year. Obviously, if it's annual.
Yeah.
I think process now, by a couple of years.
I'll just keep yelling.
Dave's got to giggle.
No inside laughing up there by
No,
yourself.
I just like his response. I know everything. Obviously, he's been in communication with my wife. Surround myself with.
Well, maybe not everything, Dave. I got a finger on some pulse, that's what, maybe the better way
I was
I
gonna
should
say,
have
does
said.
information come into you?
I got a lot to learn about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a FEMA form. It's not making any sense to me. In accordance with the Sandy Recovery Improvement Act of 2013, the Federal Emergency Management Agency is implementing alternative procedures for the public assistance program through a pilot program. And they have checked reimbursement of straight-time force account labor costs for debris removal. And I think that is, I want to say that so we can include the fire department's
Right.
time.
Right. Yep.
Straight time force.
Yes.
Mhm.
This one is another FEMA form. And
So,
You want to subcontract with your fire.
well, one needs one signature. Do you want mine or yours
Sure,
or?
go ahead.
and there's a place on
We can throw
the
him under
next
the bus.
page.
Right, sure.
If you
As
look
long as
at
the checks come to me.
pages-
Right.
No.
Oh, that's them.
The,
Is that them? I don't.
sub-recipient representative, sub-recipient representative title. Sub-rec-
Sub-recipient.
Subrecipient representative, county, city.
Please translate and we will sign.
And what's the signature of what?
Recipient's authorized representative, so I guess that would be us,
I
town.
don't know.
Print name and title,
I
sub-recipient
think that is,
name,
yes. I think that's the first page is what we want. I
signature,
don't know why the second
print.
page is there.
name. Signature.
I wouldn't put
authorized
my name
representative.
on that unless I knew for sure.
You know what,
Because
Jane's coming in on Thursday.
Yeah, yeah, let's wait on that
And
one.
I am gonna wait because, and this one is
Sub-recipient.
just,
Because then that, you said that's also subrecipient.
Right, well, we've
this
also
is
got
all
this thing.
sub-recipient too, but the page, the agreement for participation doesn't really say anything.
All right, let's have Jane look at it.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, you've got Homeland Security here.
well,
Who
this is
signed off on
pilot
it?
program too. All direct administrative costs. for
Could be
the
back in Ireland in a heartbeat.
For without your children.
with Uncle Eli and Uncle Warren. I think I'd hold off.
Yeah, I think hold off, because one was about, something about 1%, and the other was 4%, and they
As soon as you
don't
got the airport,
specify.
your travel visa would be gone. You ain't going anywhere.
We don't want
Yeah,
to.
we'll
All
wait
right,
on
we'll
those.
wait on that, all right.
Yep,
Yeah, I
that's
don't wanna
fine.
sign it and find out we've gotta do whiteout or something.
Okay, that's good. All right.
Not welcome
We
back.
will talk to Jane on Thursday, and that is it for signatures. And
You go into non-public
we're
now?
going to non-public
Have we looked at our minutes?
to, oh, I forgot the minute thing again, didn't I? Bad.
Well, I remember.
I'm gonna have to send you an email.
I think you are. Although the one time you did send me the email, I already had it on the agenda.
That's true.
All right.
2:16 and 7?
What did you say? I'm sorry.
We're gonna approve minutes?
It would have been,
I confess I haven't.
there's
read
only
them.
one. There's
There.
only one. And it would have been May.
It's only one, it's the
Oh, I can tell you
second
which
one,
one it
it's
is.
the second one in May.
Right, May 21st.
Right, and I didn't read it, sorry.
Naughty, naughty.
I
Yeah.
looked through it. It's on-
Thank you, Chuck.
Oh, you did
I
it?
looked through it, yeah.
You did it?
Yep.
Okay,
Because
you
it's,
guys, if you guys wanna go ahead and move that? and-
I move that we accept the minutes from May 21st.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. That's why, okay.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. I kept saying, I'll read that right before the meeting, I'll read that right before the meeting,
Can you
keeps
send
popping
that
up.
MOU from the state? I cannot find it, I probably.
I printed it
That's
actually.
what March usually does it right away.
Did you, the minute I
Yeah.
see them, because if I don't, I'll forget.
All right, so at this point, we're going to non-public session for RSA 91A3, Roman numeral 2, paragraph A, regarding personnel. I need a second.
Second,
Okay, roll call
Aye.
vote.
Lynn? Go ahead.
Keiser?
Lynn, aye?
Yep, Mishcon, yes.